Hi team. So I'm Alice Bromwich. I run Luminary Leaders and I'm a resilience and leadership consultant. And yes, I am sat here in my hoodie and a bit of furry warmness to try and keep me warm as it's pouring with rain up here in the Highlands. So why am I quickly dropping in here? Because I'm in the middle of the Horasis extraordinary global meeting, which is a fascinating array of different politicians, different industry leaders, different investors. And one of the things I just wanted to come in and pop in and say is two aspects really, is how you yourself in your speech, not necessarily in how you do it as far as, yes, of course, how we present ourselves visually matters too, but the difference in how each of the speakers this morning, we've been going since 6:30, 6:15 this morning, and it's going to go through till 10 p.m. tonight. We had the president of Namibia on earlier on this morning. We've had ministers from Egypt, phenomenal lady who is was working with the IMF beforehand and is now the minister for collaboration and dealing with international cooperation, I believe. We've had Kosovan ministers on. We've had people from India, across Nepal and Asia, UK, US, Europe. And what's been really, really fascinating to me is it's not about necessarily just what they say, it's about how they say it. So one of the things I'd love to invite you to explore is, how are you speaking? How is your public speaking? How is your ability to communicate in public? And I hope, this will be maybe where I need to get some feedback too, I hope that you guys find me easy to understand, that I try and use language that people can understand, that yes, I might speak quite quickly, but I try and put it because there's a lot of content to get across in quite a short amount of time, and knowing that actually you can always listen to it later as well. But this morning, it's been fascinating. We had an amazing lady who runs the UN out in Geneva. I couldn't listen to her. I hate to say it, and please, if any of you guys actually speak to her, she looked like an amazing lady. I listened to as much as I could. I found it really, really hard to understand and very, very difficult to actually be able to listen for a protracted period of time. In contrast, there was a lady from Bulgaria who'd also been brought up in Germany, who had a very different style of speech. And she managed to bring together 5 different male colleagues from around the globe, all discussing finance and whether or not COVID, and I love this, whether or not COVID was the elephant in the room. And there was a fantastic guy who was a real devil's advocate from down in New Zealand who said, no, it's not the elephant in the room. It's the canary in the mine. And the idea that you're also adding analogies so that people can understand the point you're trying to get across in a very succinct amount of time. So that idea that COVID is the canary in the mine, it's showing us about how healthy we are or healthy we're not. What a brilliant piece. Some of the other guys who'd come out of India, again, phenomenal speakers. And I know we've got quite a few Indians who are part of this group, be it that you're British Indians or that you are over in Canada. You might well be second generation in a different country. But I was so impressed as far as we had the head of various Indian business schools speaking today. They were very eloquent. And the wonderful part, which also, you know, I think both resonated but also smashed the social bias, which is another thing to explore when you're public speaking, is looking at what can be myth busting, but also what explores actually breaking some of the social myths and social bias, was that one of the heads of the business school was talking all about mindset. And yet you don't often hear that in the discussions about GDP and the financial development of a country and various other things. He said this is all about the mindset. And there's a wonderful quote which I just wanted to share with you. A leader is a dealer of hope. They need to aim high and look far. So a leader is a dealer of hope. We need to aim high and look far. And that was the fascinating piece too. It's something I maybe hadn't necessarily, whilst I've been saying about don't worry, things are going well, keep on going, let's make sure we prepare for the future. What was fascinating was the idea that a lot of the discussion today is how we're actually in a bit of a sweet spot. That at the moment, we are at the stage where the governments have been giving financial easing, where there is a lot of money to borrow from the banks because people have been saving. So the actual personal financial debt, definitely in the UK, has gone down. There's a phenomenal statistic from the last few months. Sorry, I'm just pulling up my business section of the newspaper, just seeing if I've got it handy, that says how much as a nation that we've actually saved over the last few months. I'll find it for you. But essentially, it's been discussing how much the UK populace has actually saved as individuals over the last few months and how much we've reduced our debt. Well, there's lots of discussion at the moment about the idea that the economies are failing and that the government debt is completely unsustainable. Yes, that is probably true. However, that's very different to each household not still now putting money away, being careful, tightening their belts, and starting to look at what they can actually spend in comparison to what they would normally spend. And for me, there's been a fascinating discussion as well this morning about essentially that us not going out and being on the high street and us not going out and spending is affecting the economies. And yet you've got to wonder, well, hang on a second. If as a nation or as different nations, we are reducing our personal debt, and that's what I would really, hi Adam, what I would really encourage you to do if you can, is look at your own finances, look at the liquidity that you have within your own home and within your own business and go, where do I sit on the financial liquidity stake? Is the more we can reduce our debt, then the more flexibility we're going to have as well. But that's not what the economists want to tell us, because then you're looking at what is the overall growth of the economy. Well, part of the growth of the economy is as we consume. But if we're looking at our effect on the planet, then potentially is arguing, what are we consuming? And are we consuming well? Are we consuming high value products, but low quantities? And the wonderful one I always love about this, and this has been, eons old, is how much in Europe that we pay for Coca-Cola in comparison to how much you pay per litre for Coca-Cola in America, for example. So if you go to the States, everything's on tap. You literally put your drinks carton or your glass up against a vending machine, and it just pours you out Coke, and everything you're sold is, with endless drinks. In the UK, we'll happily pay £2 for a little tiny container of Diet Coke or Coca-Cola. And it's the difference of where we put our value. It's not the difference of how much you necessarily want to consume. And so this is what I'd love you to explore is, if we are in that sweet spot, what can we do for ourselves to make sure that we're preparing for the future? So I know that this month I've been absolutely going through, well, we're only on the 1st of October. So last month, yesterday, I was going through all of my finances for September, doing my financial planning for the next 6 months, looking at what my outgoings would be, making sure I'd cleared every single solitary invoice or debt that I possibly had coming up, to make sure that I knew what my outgoings were going to be, so then I could make an informed choice, an informed risk about further investment. And yes, for me, I am still investing in another coaching course, which is going to be starting next month. Oh, next week, this month. Which is about improving my skills for transformational leadership even more. Also looking at exploring how I can spread the message of what we're doing even broader. So again, for me, those are things where I look and go, okay, yes, that's a chunk of cash going out, but it's also a phenomenal chunk of knowledge coming in, which is where I come back to with the harassers about today. So a really extraordinary set of people, and they've all paid to be there because you have to pay to have your ticket to attend. It's a global forum. It's set up by the guy who set up the World Economic Forum. So as far as, they've got all of this infrastructure across the globe to make sure it works. So the least we can do is pay a ticket price to go in. And it's significantly less than what I needed to pay to be able to go into the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. So Davos is now looking particularly reasonably priced. But even so, Horasis is looking even better because I haven't had to go anywhere. But where am I going with this? You must look at how you present yourself. You must look at how you are speaking, the pitch and tone, what you're saying, what's the impact you want to have. So my impact for you guys is, please, let's pay attention to the message you want to get across. My message to you is that you all have amazing knowledge. You all have amazing content to share. But we have to make sure that our leadership presence stands up to the knowledge we have inside. So when you're looking at yourself as a leader, are you presenting yourself as a leader as you would want to be? Are you presenting your voice and your language in a manner that is appreciative by everybody in the room? And there are so many different nationalities in there today. And everyone's been brilliant in making sure that they keep their language understandable in a pitch and tone that is also predominantly understandable. And like I say, this is why I started this chat in the first place. Some people haven't. And it doesn't matter. I mean, climate change, there's the most phenomenal guy from the meteorologist, United Nations Meteorologist Department. I couldn't listen to him. It was so hard. And I desperately wanted to hear the content he had to say. It was really, really, really hard to listen to. So there we go. Little bit from me, bit of feedback on Horasis. If you want any exploration as far as any help about how to improve your own public speaking capability, if you want to look about your own confidence when you're speaking in public, speaking on forums, speaking on webinars, doing podcasts, I'm helping the guys I'm coaching with that all the time. When I say guys, I mean ladies and men. But as far as that's a key piece about your leadership capacity and your leadership capability, is getting the message across how you wish. So, ciao for now, and speak to you soon. Now I've got another few hours of this to go. So let's see what comes out in the second half. Ciao for now.